send them out after that one next week. We'll aim to keep it to about an hour to an hour and a half at the most. Depends how long Mick talks for. Sorry, Mick. But we'll keep it around an hour, I would hope. So hopefully not too long for everyone. Okay. In terms of the agenda, as we sent quite a bit of information out beforehand as to what we were looking to do. Tom's going to give us an update in a moment on national programmes. Charlie will then talk through women and girls cricket. I've got a little bit of an update on safeguarding for everyone, which will follow up with a little bit of information that adds to that around the game-wide insurance offer through the Safe Hands management system. Mick's going to talk through different funding opportunities and support that's out there. Charlie will talk through the funds for runs, and then I'll give a little bit of an update on coach education and coach development. Charlie will talk you through an exciting opportunity for disability champion clubs. And then James, and I think, is Jane Huff on the call? I don't know if she is yet, so I think Jane's going to give us, sorry Jane, Jane's going to give us a little update on scoring. And then we'll finish off with a bit of a Q&A of any questions that might have been raised throughout the call. Okay, so I will hand over to Tom, who's going to take us through national programmes.
Cheers, Richard. Hi everyone. So All Stars and Dynamos, which are the national programmes. So All Stars first. So for those who don't know, this is kind of the entry programme for children at 5 to 8 to try and get involved in cricket, trying to inspire a new generation of players and volunteers. There's different ways of All Stars being run, whether it's schools, community groups, or clubs. And there's kind of two windows that you can run. And this is really to do with the ECB's marketing. So they run two marketing windows, one that kind of leads up to the launch in May, and then they recognise that a lot of clubs and other settings do things in the summer holidays, so they have another marketing launch through June and July as well. A couple of slight changes for people who've been involved previously around some of the pricing. So previously, clubs got £5 back per participant. That's now £10, which is great news. The kids get the kit you can see on the right in the picture there: the bat, the ball, and the bag and the cap, and the t-shirt, obviously, which is great to see. And there's also this stuff that clubs get some support on kit this year. So rather than the little top-up packs that you've had previously for getting kind of to 10 kids or more, you're going to get £5 per child now to spend on the club shop, and then you can spend that on whatever you want on there, whether it's a new full big kit bag or some balls, whatever it is. And the hope is we'll be able to do some money can't buy experience at some point in the summer, whether that's linking to the counter ground, doing the Guard of Honours and things like we've done previously, or if it has to be some virtual things. Rich, want to move on? Okay, and then we've got Dynamos Cricket, which is the new programme which was meant to launch last year, obviously launching this year now, which is the follow-on from All Stars, around this 8 to 11-year-old age group. It's more of a game-based programme, so whereas All Stars is around little activities, it's just more game-based, more linking them into what we understand as kind of quick cricket and then kind of hardball cricket going forward. Again, kind of two windows to run this, linking to the marketing. And there's quite a few clubs a little bit unsure on how they'll fit this in at the moment, especially with how busy I appreciate everyone's going to be when the season starts. So maybe there's an opportunity, if you're not quite sure whether to run it at the start, to have a think about running something this summer and linking it to the 100. Sky are obviously a big backer of the 100 and also the Dynamos programme as well. Again, RRP of £40 for participants. The ECB take 15 of that back, so clubs get £25. With the kit that the kids get, they get the Dynamo shirt. You can see on the right there, which is a New Balance shirt. And there's also some links to a cricket app, which has got lots of content and activities on there, weekly videos from hundreds of players, and lots of quizzes and challenges. And there's also this Topps Cricket Attacks card idea this year. So I don't know if anyone's heard of kind of the Top Trumps idea, where there's you get different kind of ratings and numbers and stuff. So all the players that are involved in the 100 have got a Cricket Attacks card, which will have their batting and bowling and fielding kind of rating on, and the kids will be able to collect those and they'll get them for attending the sessions. Clubs again will get kit to support the delivery, links to the 100 for money can't buy, and we'll also have some links to Derbyshire as well if we're able to. The big thing about Dynamos is the definite opportunity for kind of getting more girls involved and more girls only programs. So Charlie will go through in a little bit more detail in a bit, and also this idea of getting more kind of female activators and role models into this age group. This is when we know that girls start to want to play some girls only cricket. Next one, please, Richard. So I've had quite a lot of questions about Activator Training, so a little bit of an update for everyone. So if you're an existing activator, so if you've been on any training previously, whether that was kind of ECB the first year or the ones that we've run over the last few years, everyone who wants to be an activator will need to do some of the e-learning and the safeguarding course online, and then there'll be a bit of a webinar-based refresher. Should be about probably 45, 60 minutes where we can go through a few of the updates, have a bit of a chat about some of the things you might have to think about with COVID and stuff like that. And then that'll be your training. And then for a new activator, fine again is to do the e-learning and safeguarding. Then there'll be a bit of an induction where we'll go through some of the kind of non-practical stuff. And then ideally there'll be some face-to-face training, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The plan, if we can't do that face-to-face, is we'll do some more virtual training. But hopefully with where things are progressing, we might be able to do some of that. The likely dates for that training will probably be some point in April or very early May if we need to. Richard, next slide, please. Okay, a few little next steps for clubs and people, clubs who are responsible for this. So first of all, Club Spark. So the big thing for us is getting your program details on there, please. We're trying our best to help and support you with some school delivery, which James will go through in a minute, and to be able to do that as best as we can. Ideally, we need to know when people are starting their programs. Stripe's the other big thing at the moment, so I sent an email out to everyone, or the kind of lead contacts for All Stars and Dynamos last week about that. I appreciate there's been some issues with getting accounts verified and things. There's the link embedded on here again. If you need to try and access Stripe, and there's also the Club Finance email address for the ECB to direct any queries to about Stripe. And last thing to do on Club Spark is complete your checklist. So first of all, please tick the register club little button and do that. That's so you can agree to terms and conditions. One thing we found last year was if that isn't done properly, sometimes clubs don't appear on the website, so please make sure that's done. And then getting things like your first aid, insurance, and safe hands for your club welfare officer on there as well, please. A little bit, not as much of a rush on that as it is for kind of Stripe and your program details. I know this is the time when insurance gets renewed. There's obviously the first aid that you can't access at the moment, which we'll get an update on in a bit. Marketing. Use the resource hub. Links it in the slide there. That's got lots of really good marketing for All Stars and Dynamos, as well as things like women's softball as well. We'll do social media this year. We'll try and do some school stuff, but there'll obviously be a lot of schools around you that we can't get in. So think about if there's anything you can send to them, get things sent to them on parent mail or something like that. Using your local media, newspapers, their social media to try and promote your program. And also you've got all the contacts of people who've previously been on your programs on Club Spark. So think about dropping them an email and saying you're doing it again. You might find some of the All Stars are now the right age to do Dynamos. That's it from me. got any questions about it, please put them
Tom,
in the chat and we'll go through them.
Just one, I think it's probably worth you answering now.
Yeah.
From Ian Hadfield. He's just asked, does a level 2 coach have to do the activator training?
To be an activator on All-Stars Dynamos, yes, they do.
Okay, thanks, mate. Okay.
So that's me, so I'll hand over to James, isn't it now?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing all right. Obviously, it's been quite a challenging year for school delivery, but we've managed to utilise the furlough scheme well, keeping all of our full-time coaches employed. So it means that with Monday's announcement, that we're now in a position and we're committed more than ever to help support your national programmes. So as Tom said, thank you to everyone that's got all their club details and when their programmes are running on ClubSpark. It means that we can now, or we have now allocated some school delivery to help put with the transition for your national programmes. As Tom said, it's split into 2 windows, and we've split our school planning into 2 windows. So those that have got their programmes set for May, we're looking to utilise the time between the 8th of March and end of Easter to deliver what they call engagement days. Engagement days is a 1-day full of taster sessions for as many classes as fits the school timetable, basically. So we're looking to engage as many schools as possible with the view of helping with that transition. And also as well, we are going to look at the whole school programmes now. We did plan for 20 whole school programmes, which are 6 weeks of activity for schools in the January, but obviously that all got cancelled thanks to COVID. So we are looking to honour those. So the ones that we did have planned in January, we're looking to honour those, and we're looking to work with those schools straight after Easter, so they'll be getting the 6 weeks of activities. So if you haven't put your details on the ClubSpark, please get it on as quickly as possible, because it really helps us with our planning and delivery and helping you support your national programmes. As soon as anything has been booked, your club or community cricket officer or CCCO will be in touch with you to let you know when we're going to be in, and if you've got any sort of promotional material that you want us to use to help with the transition, we'll be looking to try and get into parent mail so that it goes out to parents and guardians. Give as much information as possible. So if there's anything that you want us to add, please feel free to send anything and everything that you've got. So yeah, as soon as we've got any information, we'll be sharing it with you and your club. And if you've got any other questions, there's my contact details. Please get in touch with me. And I think we're moving on to Chazza.
Yep. Charlie, over to you for some updates on women and girls.
Thanks, both.
Screen will move on.
Yeah, that's come up. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, afternoon, everyone. Hope we're all good. Just thought I'd give us a brief overview of the women and girls game and what's coming this summer. Obviously, as everyone knows, it's a huge priority for ECB and DCF over the next few seasons. We want to really transform the women and girls game from girls age 5 all the way up to women, both hardball and softball. There's a few points on here about why the women and girls game, why it's such a huge opportunity. I won't read all those out to you, but that just demonstrates why we've got such a huge opportunity to grow the game in this space over the next few years. Looking to make the game more gender balanced and provide equal opportunities for both genders. Sorry about that. Next slide, Rich. So these are the 4 main areas we're looking to grow the women and girls game. We're going to look to work with clubs to create inclusive and welcoming environments. To do this, we need to make sure that facilities are suitable for all. So over the next few years, we'll be prioritising those projects that have those commitments in mind, creating a welcoming environment and a balanced environment for both genders at that club. Secondly, we're going to look to increase the number of clubs offering girls and women's cricket, and increase the number of sections. To do this, we're going to increase the percentage of girls at national programs, and that will give the clubs a maximum opportunity to create those sections going forward, women's and girls. Thirdly, diversify the governance of clubs. We want to increase the number of females on club committees, make sure they're more diverse for the scope of their club and their development plans, and make sure they're representative of what the club wants to look like going forward. And lastly, we want to develop and encourage a new wave of female volunteers and coaches, as well as activators, umpires, scorers. All of this helps facilitate the women and girls game and helps inspire the next generation coming through. Women and girls tend to thrive if they're being led and coached and supported by the same group. So that's what we're looking to achieve there. Next slide, Rich. I've got this slide up. Just this shows what we're looking to achieve over the next few years in terms of what the playing offer could look like. Doesn't mean every club will offer this. It just summarises what we think would be and could be available to girls and women across the game. So we're at a really strong position at the bottom end with All Stars, Dynamos, and Quick Cricket, which now offers girls only Quick Cricket. Most of our leagues now offer that. So we're in a pretty strong position. In Derbyshire, we have a good number of girls in national programmes. Of course, we're always looking to increase this. And even this year, we're putting a really strong emphasis on trying to maximise the girls that you can attract to your national programmes by increasing the number of female activators and the option to run a girls only Dynamos programme if you want. Those are all the things we're looking to do to try and grow the girls at that bottom end. Of course, it's a strength, but we're always looking to make those strengths a super strength, if you like. We recognise there's not many formal offers after that for girls, after Dynamos and Quick Cricket, and we're working on this. And we've set up a working group which met yesterday actually, and the outcome of this will be to run a girls' league in 2021 for clubs. We're going to roll this out for clubs to enter in the coming weeks after I've pulled together what the group decided last night. And the final priority is at the top end in orange there, you can see is women's hardball and women's softball. We've got 4 hardball teams that currently play in the Women's Midlands League from clubs. We're wanting to increase this. We want to provide more opportunities for women over 16 who want to play some competitive hardball cricket. So that's a real big goal of ours. But for a big county, 4 teams is all right, but we want to improve on that. And finally, in terms of women's softball, we see this as a position of real strength again. We've got over 30 clubs that play regularly softball cricket. It's a thriving area of the game, but we want to continue to grow this going forward. Next slide, please, Rich. So what are we going to offer in 2021? This is what's coming this year, to keep an eye out for. So as usual, looking to run women's softball festivals. We were unable to run them last year due to COVID, but we're very hopeful this year that they can run in some form. ECB will be sending out some playing guidance in the coming days, so we're hopeful that will enable us to facilitate festivals in some manner. Again, this will be sent out to all clubs, so any club can apply to play and or host a festival. So if that's something you want to do, then keep an eye out for that coming out on your emails. Kit, women's softball kit will be available in March on the Serious Cricket Club shop. That's available for any club who wants to have some softball kit, bats and balls. They'll be on sale on Serious Cricket in March. Girls cricket, as I mentioned, we're going to run either an under 11 or under 12 league. It's not been decided yet, but that will be open to any club who wants to take part. Girls quick cricket, as I mentioned, nearly all of our local leagues will be running this year under 9 level. So there'll be at least 2 or 3 weeks in the calendar available to girls to enter that. Activator training, we're going to be running Activator training, as Tom mentioned, for All Stars and Dynamos. We're putting a real emphasis this year on trying to recruit more female activators, so that the activators inspiring these kids in national programs are equally split between male and female activators. So if you've got any female activators female volunteers at the club that you might think might create activators, then sign them up. Coach education, we're looking to run a Women and Girls Foundation 1 course. This was meant to run last year but got postponed, so we've got a few people signed up to that already, and so there might be some extra places available for that going forward when we can run coach education courses. One-to-one club support, I'm available all the time to meet with clubs that want to work on growing a women and girls section. If you want to ask any questions about how it might work, how it might work for your club, any individual support or questions that you might have, then I'm available all the time. Just pick up the phone or drop me a message. Girls summer camps. In the 6-week holidays, we're hoping to run some girls only summer camps. These have gone down well in previous years when we've ran them, and so I think it's a good option to keep girls engaged during the summer. And lastly, as Coxie mentioned, there's the option, if clubs want to run a girls only Dynamo centre. This is a good way of maximising your girl participation if that's something that your club wants to do. So that's what's coming in 2021. Next slide, Rich. Okay, last one from me. Hopefully not sent you to sleep. Next steps. I'll be in contact with all clubs that have a women and girls section before the start of the season, hopefully, for a catch up, see if you need any support anywhere. Me, James and Tom will be in contact with clubs registering for All Stars and Dynamos to support in attracting more girls to take part. Try to identify some potential female activators. I would encourage you to try and do that and sign them up to our Activator Training as and when this can start. And also start to think about whether your club can be involved in other girls and women's offers if it's not already. For example, can you enter an under-9s quick team? Can you enter our girls comp? Or can you enter a team of 8 into one of our softball festivals? All 3 of those ways would be great ways to enter the space, and especially women's softball has proved quite a good way to start your section at your club. So again, can start thinking those things to think about, and if you need any support, then let me know. That's it from me.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you. Okay, I'll move us on. The next slide or next bit is around safeguarding. So I just thought it'd be worth giving a few updates of where we're at with safeguarding and that kind of space. So some may be aware, might have seen that the ECB have recently launched the new Safe Hands management system. So effectively the Safe Hands management system is a tool that's been put together by the ECB all out across the game, which will support you as clubs track, audit, manage your safeguarding requirements and compliance. So things like those clubs that have been part of Club Mark in the past, you have to have certain roles within the club that have DBSs as an example. So all adult team captains have to have DBS as a league requirement. Coaches must have DBS safeguarding qualifications in place. The system will allow you as a cricket club to upload those key roles, and it will automatically pull through the cricket DBS and safeguarding. So you won't have to go around as a club welfare officer, won't have to go around tracking all your members down that should have DBSs in place and making sure they've renewed. It will automatically tell you that and enable you to manage that through the system. In time, it will talk to Play Cricket. It will pull through all the details from Play Cricket. It will talk to the coach education system. It's phase 1 at the moment, not quite there. They're still building all the blocks behind it, but in time it will be able to do that for us. Now, in terms of how we're rolling out in the county, we've got initially the ECB are focused on Club Mark clubs or clubs that were Club Mark previously. So I think we've got about 39 clubs to get on the system by the end of July. There'll be 100 clubs rolled out nationally each week, all being well, providing no glitches in the system. And they'll work through the compliance with a view that by the end of July, everything is in place. After club mark clubs, so once we've got those 39 clubs on the system, it will be then phase 2, which will be clubs with junior sections. And then once all those clubs are on board, it will be rolled out across the whole game for all clubs. From what we've seen so far, it's a really good tool. We can obviously see where clubs are at with roles within the club. It might identify, for example, if a club has 100 junior players, but they've only uploaded 2 coaches onto the system, then we might start working with that club to say, look, I think we need to look at addressing that and see if we can help you to develop more coaches to support that number of junior players. So that's coming. It's round the corner. Some clubs have already been invited onto the system. I think we've got 7 clubs in the county so far on there, with a further 2, I think, going on there next week. So over the next sort of 5 to 10 weeks, those 39 clubs in the county will be put onto the system. And then, as I said, probably back end of the summer, going into the winter, we'll start to introduce clubs with junior sections. It does come with an offer around free liability insurance. So clubs, once compliant or once they're uploaded onto the system, will be able to access that through Howdens. Mick's going to talk us through that in a moment, how that works. But that there's an estimated figure of around £350 to £400 a year that will save clubs just through accessing that public liability and employee liability insurance. So we'll keep you informed when it's your turn, if you like, to be added to the system. And there's a process working through with the ECB to add clubs. And as I said, it's club mark clubs first, and then we'll be following up with clubs with junior sections. If you haven't seen it, there's quite a lot of information on the ECB website around safeguarding and advice for you within lockdown, how you sort of manage your members and support people, your members within the club. So if you haven't had a look, it's worth having a look at that website. Around April time, we're hoping there's going to be a new safeguarding introductory course released by the ECB, and that will be a course available to anyone within the club that you feel should have some insight and education, I guess, around safeguarding. Everyone's got parents that maybe that are team managers that aren't really, they've not got a formal coaching qualification, so therefore probably haven't got any safeguarding qualifications either or experience. So chairmans of a cricket club, as an example, would be a person that you would expect to have some oversight for safeguarding within the club. So that course will be accessible, we're hoping, around April time, and just an introductory course for everyone, or anyone that you feel appropriate within your club. So I just urge you to start thinking about people that might be relevant for that course, so that we're ready to go when it is rolled out later in the year. In terms of club welfare officers, as we've traditionally called them, the name is going to change, so they're going to become club safeguarding officers, and that's mainly just to fall in line with the generally known term for that kind of role. So Sport England would refer to a safeguarding officer. The various governing bodies within that space is well known as safeguarding. So it's just a slight term change, but that's going to be rolled out shortly. DBSs, I think everyone's probably aware, it's still online and video verification, and it's still limited to the Cricket Foundation staff at the moment. So those verifiers out in club network can't verify a DBS still at the moment. And that's just to ensure that the process can be managed, I guess, tightly through the ECB. So if anyone is requiring a DBS, then please get in touch. We can initiate an application. It's really simple to do now. Those who've done it, I'm sure, will echo that. It takes 10 minutes to fill it in, and then a quick call with myself, Mick, Charlie, James, or Tom, and we'll sign off if we can. And then one final one, just to note in terms of safeguarding, we're going to be running 2 webinars for club safeguarding or welfare officers, as they are at the moment, on the 2nd of March and the 10th March. And that's just an opportunity. Angela and Mick will be leading on that. So Angela Gregson's the county safeguarding officer. She'll be leading with Mick, and it will just be providing some updates, some changes to systems and things that people need to be aware of, and just a good opportunity to share best practice and have some discussion as a network of welfare officers. So the links in the slides, we will be sending the slides out. I just advise and recommend that you pass that on to welfare officers within your club and ask them to sign up if they've got a moment to do that, and hopefully they'll find it some value of doing that. Okay, have we had any questions on that section so far? No. Okay, if you do get any thoughts or questions on safeguarding, then please pop them in the chat and we'll cover it a bit later on. I'm now going to hand over to Mick. He's going to talk you through the game-wide insurance and then move on to funding. Mick.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I hope everyone can hear me. Right. I'll just do a little bit on the game-wide insurance that Richard spoke about. So please be aware this isn't quite available to everybody just yet. So policy designed for all risks with cricket clubs. The free access through Safe Hands Management System, or the free insurance that's offered to clubs, it will be to cover public liability, employers' liability, professional indemnity, directors and officers' liability, and cyber liability. So you don't have to take it up. If you want to continue with your existing insurer, you can do. Richard's gave a little bit of feedback. I've spoke to one or two clubs that are sort of indicating that it's save your money whatever you do. So it's worth looking into. What I would say, I know a lot of clubs have got their insurance policies about to run out. I'm getting one or two inquiries from clubs. Now, your administrator on Safe Hands Management System should have the information that you need if they haven't passed it through the club. And there's a link to get onto Howden's that you fill in a risk assessment. I'm told it's very, very straightforward. I am. There's a series of questions which obviously they ask you to answer as honestly as they can, particularly if you're in this early stages, because we're conscious this only came out from the 31st of January. So it is, as Richard said, it's the first phase, club mark only clubs, and that'll be followed up in due course by clubs with a junior section, and hopefully by next year all of the clubs. So it sounds as though it's a great benefit to clubs. So I'd urge everybody to please make sure you're aware of it and have a look at it. As I say, nobody has to take this up. You can continue with your existing insurer, or you can take this up and have the rest of your insurance with your existing insurer, or Howden's will give you a quote for the whole of your package, whatever you want. Richard, do you want to move on to the next slide? I think there's one coming up on funding. So funding support, just want to give a quick update on one or two things that where the ECB is and where it's going. Essentially, return to cricket or league emergency funding, basically ECB emergency funding. And I just stress the word, it is emergency funding, which consists of two areas. One is the loan scheme, and the loan scheme will run indefinitely. So if a club gets in a situation where it feels it needs a loan, it will run indefinitely. The return to cricket fund is due to close towards the end of March. I haven't got a finalised date on that, because initially it was the 20th of December and then it moved into January. So I'm told towards the end of March. So this is basically hardship funding, the grants of up to 3K to support clubs who can identify a shortfall. It's around supporting basic preparation costs, essential day-to-day maintenance, renovation, end of season pitch renovations, and that sort of thing. So any clubs that think they need support in this area that can meet the criteria, please get in touch with me and I'm happy to send you an application form. There's a little bit of a delay getting things through the system due to workload, but we have got time. until the end of March. The other thing that's just worth mentioning in here, in ECB interest-free loan, that just continues as is. If anyone's got an existing ECB interest-free loan, the holiday, the payment holiday is until the end of November now. So it was due, people do start repaying in May, but the ECB extended that until November. ECB interest-free loan, certainly something worth looking at for some of the projects that you've got that you might be interested in, that where there's not much funding support around. So things like rollers, mowers, quite high cost items, buildings, match funding, sight screens, score boxes, that sort of thing. You can access all those on the ECB interest-free loan, and quite a lot of clubs are doing that now. And finally, the county grants. People might remember that we talked about the county grants fund last year, which was due to launch before the pandemic. The funding that was in that's been put through to the ECB emergency funding programs, but that is due to launch again this year, and I understand the aim is for it to be launched live in April. So there will be information coming out about that in due course. Richard, I've seen one or two things popping up on the chat.
Yeah, just one
that needs cover that can be covered off.
I think just one quick question on the insurance, Mick.
Yeah.
In terms of if a club's missed the date this year, is the Houndens offer still there next year?
Yeah, absolutely. The information, it was obviously very tight because I think it was released in January. Whoever the club administrator was at your club, if you're a Club Mark club, would have got that information in January. Now, I understand Howden's insurance policies run January to January. I think it's January the 31st or February the 1st to January the 31st. So there were two different ways that clubs could approach it. There was an emergency way that you could do this. Now, I don't see a reason why you couldn't contact your insurer or the Howden's insurer and ask them the question. I'm taking it to somebody that had their insurance on the 1st of February. Was it, or was it before then? If it was before then, there's probably nothing we can do, but by all means get in touch with me. I'm happy to talk to you about it if needs be. Is there anything else in there, Richard, that's...
No, just probably worth everyone having a quick look. There's a few clubs that have accessed it saying how much it was saving they've made, so no questions at this stage. And that's the ice cream ran outside. Yeah. Okay. Right. I see one in there about the interest-free loan scheme, personal guarantors. I think that's something that the ECB have to do. I mean, I don't know. I can ask the question, but I think they have to do that. I'm sorry if that doesn't work for everybody. Okay, can we move on, Richard? The next slide. Yeah, just Sport England. Just thought Sport England worth an update. Their funds still around. I suppose in theory, return to play around supporting clubs coming back after COVID. It could be worth looking at these different funds. All the information's on the website. Small grants through to 10k. Community asset fund, which is around places and adaptations that clubs might have to make, and I think that's one that clubs could look at, particularly if we've got areas that we want to bring back into use as a club, or make more use of if we've got any areas or facility that we could make more use of by spending a bit of money on it. And then the last one is the Return to Play Active Together fund, which offers 10k of match funding linked to crowdfunding, which is towards the bottom of the slide. And this is really around supporting clubs that help themselves through a crowdfunding campaign. So it's up to 10k in match funding. Slightly different way of looking at things, and
it's a different opportunity, but some clubs have certainly benefited from this in Derbyshire. The projects have been wide and varied. So we've had some cricket training facilities that have received support, pavilion upgrades. I think we've got Bredsall on the call who are kitting out their new clubhouse with that, and we've had changing room upgrades. So it's one worth looking at. I mean, my thoughts on going through it as I've read it, it's things that are really important is take advantage of all the online information. There is loads of stuff there. They do a pretty good training session which takes you through it, and there are some online courses. If you can put the work in before you launch your page, I'd suggest that you do that, and so you've got a strong page and lots of instant tips, including there's some one-to-one support. You can contact them at any time. So I think this is something that in the current climate is likely to continue. I know Sport England have still got a significant amount of money in the fund, and they run monthly webinars that you can link into, and which basically ask them any questions that you want. So certainly slightly different thing to normal, but worth looking at. Richard, do you want to move it on? Yeah. Okay. Government support. Just wanted to touch on this because I know that it's probably April, May last year that we became aware of this through the government small business grant program, which a lot of clubs in Derbyshire, I think it was 60 clubs or thereabouts, got £10,000 worth of support. What I just want to mention to people is that, I think some clubs will be onto this and some won't, but there's been quite a bit of additional support which has followed. So it's been particularly linked into the tier system. So one went into sort of tier 2 or tier 3 when you couldn't open your clubs. And now we're in another national lockdown. So there's been more money released, and I know that some clubs have taken advantage of that. Certainly, there's been clubs have told me varying amounts, £5,000, £6,000, £7,000. Some clubs have, and if anybody wants to share that on the chat, that's fine if you feel you can do. So the interesting thing about this is that the local authorities are offering various levels of support on this. So it is literally for some, if you had a business support grant, a small business grant last year, they have had money appear in the bank account. To some that councils that are asking for lots and lots of information. Now, what I would say to people, the grants have got different names: local restriction grant, national lockdown grant, additional restrictions, but there is an explanation on your local authority website. I would urge any club that got the 10k small business grant last year to have a look at this, because I think you've got a chance of getting some additional funding. As I said, some councils are very proactive, others are asking for insurance numbers and all sorts of other things. Speak to them. There's usually a telephone that you can speak or an email that you can contact them with, and there is money there. My thoughts around this is that at some point we're going to end up paying this money back. So cricket clubs and everybody else is going to have to pay the money back. So if there's money there to support you, I would encourage you to try and take advantage of what's available to you. Richard, I saw something on the chat come up from Jimmy Drew at Bredsall around the crowdfunder. Jimmy, I don't know if you just want to mention something about what you did at Bredsall, if you're there, and your kind offer.
Yeah, all it was, I mean, I've spoke to Charlie and Richard about this previously, but yeah, we ran a crowdfunder campaign last sort of July and August for our new clubhouse. So yeah, I've got experience obviously running that, and also how we kind of link that into the Sport England funds that are available as well. So yeah, open offer really. If any clubs want to get in contact with me, just find out how we did that. More than happy to share our experiences.
Thanks, James.
Thanks very much, Jimmy. That's a great offer.
Mick, Jimmy, could you, if you're happy to, put your email address in the chat, and then if anyone wants to drop you an email, just to follow up on that, they've got your details, if you're happy to do that.
Yeah, of course I will. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, Richard, on to the next slide. I mean, just to mention from the government scheme, if anybody's not quite sure of that, you're more than welcome to give me a call or send me an email. I can't do it for you, but I'm happy to offer guidance to you. And on the last slide that I've got, I've just put on here a few more local things that you might consider, because I think there are opportunities there. There's lots and lots of opportunities. They take a bit of digging around, but I mentioned Foundation Derbyshire because they look after a variety of funding programmes. Unlikely to get massive grants from them, but little bits and pieces. They've always got something to help small groups. And likewise, Derbyshire County Council Community Leadership Fund, which each county councillor, and I think there's something like 60 plus councillors, get a small grant funding pot where they can help community organisations. It's somewhere sort of approaching £4,000. Not big money, but you know it's worth looking at. And then there's a few other things that I think that clubs, if you want to be proactive around your funding, that you should be doing. So there's Link Up to Active Derbyshire and their website. There's loads and loads of stuff on different grants. It's all split up into different areas, and they even have a newsletter that you can sign up to. So comes out usually monthly. Local CVS network, and these might be called different things in different local authorities. So I know, for example, in Derby City, it's called Community Action. Well, they're people worth linking into. Usually they've got a funding officer. They know little bits and pieces that are happening locally. Easy fundraising. I know loads and loads of clubs are linked into this. It's a great way for clubs to get the members and community, supporting them through online purchases. Not going to make a fortune, but I know we've got quite a number of clubs now making around £1,000 a year, which is, it's probably going to pay for your match balls for the season or make a good chunk into it. And then really, I suppose I'm saying at the bottom there, lots of funding opportunities. So please link into our social media platforms, Active Derbyshire, Sporting, and everywhere else. If your club's got a lot of different projects or that you're looking at, it's worth having a small group, 2 or 3 people that just work on this and have a look what's around, because there is a skill in managing to get funding from grant funders. And my last thing that is really club development plans, and I know we're very keen to know what you're doing, but if you're looking for anything of a reasonable size funding, clubs will certainly need to produce a club development plan, and it's something you should be reviewing as a minimum on an annual basis. Where this is particularly useful is where, if there's things like something called Section 106 funding, which is around where there's development in areas. And just recently, we're in some discussions with local authorities about sports clubs that can be supported in areas close to where there's a development taking place. So I think that's probably an important thing. I know most clubs will have some sort of a development plan, but please keep it up to date. Very useful if you can do that. Richard, I think that's it from me.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thank you. Again, if there's any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll pick them up a bit later on. Charlie, I think you're next on Funds for Runs.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, just a quick one. Funds for Runs is a project that's been launched with Liverpool Victoria and the ECB. It's £1 million pot that's been split between the county boards and the foundations. Basically, it's an expression of interest. Forms can be found on the ECB website. It's very targeted. It's very targeted towards certain few areas. So the grants are to deliver free cricket activity for sort of the groups on the slide there. So it's really targeted at urban and or deprived areas. So if you live in one of those areas, then you could could be applicable for this. It's sort of targeted towards either women and girls cricket, children's cricket, people with disabilities, or diverse communities. So I'm leading on this from a DCF perspective. If you're thinking of applying, if you think you might fit this criteria, then just drop me an email and we can discuss an application. Applications are between for £1,000 and £3,000. And yeah, again, focused on those areas on the screen. So if you think you might fit that, then just drop me an email. That's it really on that.
Thanks, Charlie. I'd just add to that, just to say that we have got a small limited allocation of funding for this, so we are going to be quite selective in terms of how we distribute the funds, and we really are looking for the projects that are going to have the most impact in those areas listed on the screen. So give it some consideration, and by all means talk through your thinking and ideas with Charlie, and we'll be able to give you a steer as to whether it's something that would get supported or not, just before you go into masses of detail on it. But yeah, it's a good opportunity, but obviously it is limited in terms of the target audience. Okay, thanks, Charlie. I'm just going to quickly talk you through a few things around coach education and some of the supporting mechanisms around it. So a bit of an update on the Coaches Association. I'm sure there are a few people, many of you on the call, that are coaches and are members or have been members of the Coaches Association in the past. And I guess it's going through a bit of a refresh at the moment. ECB are doing quite a lot of work on making it a better offer, more supportive to the coaching network. And there's a lot more resources available through the Coaches Association. There's more content available now than there's ever been through the Coaches Association. So I guess it's just a play as people within clubs to promote this to your coaches. It's a good opportunity for them to link and network with other coaches. In the past, it was you couldn't access the Coach Association unless you was a qualified coach. Now they've got 2 levels of membership, so you can be, if you are either a Foundation 1 or Level 2 coach and above, you can become a full member, which gives you the insurance with that. Or if you aren't a fully qualified coach support worker as an example, you can become an associate member, which gives you all access to all the resources, the webinars, everything that they deliver, just really without the insurance, because they're not qualified to the relevant standard to be insured. So I'd recommend that. Have a look. The link's in the slide. Feel free to share it with your coaching members. That they get discounts to kit providers and so on. So worth having a look at for £30 a year or for £10 a year. It's good value. Okay. iCoach Cricket, again, another really useful resource to support coaches, volunteers within the club that are working with your junior players. So it's available through the App Store, or you can access it through a web browser. It is a free resource, so it's an absolutely unbelievable resource to be free. There's so many different content session plans on there. You can plan a whole entire season's worth of session plans. You can share them with other coaches, so you can send the plan through to another coach through the app, and it is really, really good to support through All Stars, Dynamos, right the way through the age group. So again, I'd just recommend coaches downloading that, having a look at it, and starting to use that. Anyone who's gone through a recent coaching qualification will have used that, because you have to use it now on a level 2 as part of the planning tool. So it's well worth looking at. And then the iCoach Live, I just mentioned that. So through 2020, ECB delivered a variety of webinars around coaching. They had different guest speakers on there, different skill sets. So they're going to be doing that again through 2021. So just keep an eye out on the dates for those. But again, any coaches that are wanting to develop and further their knowledge and experience, it's worth having a look at. We will share all of those through our social media as and when the dates are released. So keep an eye out for them. And then just finally from me, just an update on coach development. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I think we've cancelled or postponed four Foundation 1 courses now since last March. So we've been trying to deliver them. We were due to just start again. In January, we got 3 courses booked in. And obviously, we went back into a lockdown and had to cancel them again. So the Foundation 1 course is the entry level now, so it's the first step in the coaching journey, I guess, for a coach. Anyone the age 17 upwards can attend and become a qualified Foundation 1 coach. It's a lot easier to get through the process now than take the level 2 in the past. It's 2 6-hour days or 4 3-hour workshops. And then there's some e-learning, which probably takes about an hour in total. And at the end of those 2 days or 4 evenings, you're either competent or you're not competent. And we will do everything we can to ensure that everyone who attends those courses are competent at the end of it. £150. At the moment, we don't have any bursary schemes available, but Active Derbyshire are still offering coach bursary schemes. So worth checking that out. Another change, people probably are aware of this, but the ECB Advanced Coach, what was a level 3, is now much more inclusive. It's open to anyone with a level 2 qualification. So in the past, you had to be working on a county age group program with players aged 13 and above, or had to be teaching at a public school as a head of cricket, as an example, to access that course. That's not the case anymore. So any coaches that are level 2s that want to go on and further their coaching expertise, then this is an option for them now. It's solely managed through the ECB, so we as Cricket Foundation don't have any involvement in the administration of it. So the link again is on the slides. If you have any coaches that you think would like to do that course, then please share that information with them, and there'll be many courses, obviously, once we come out of lockdown. They are regionalised as well now, so it's not a case of one cohort, usually in Derby actually, so we're fortunate, but there will be regular cohorts through this course now. And then the final point on the slides, and I know a few people put questions in the form when they registered around first aid. Cricket, face-to-face first aid is the only acceptable method at the moment. ECB are looking into that, into what options could be available, but as things stand, it's a face-to-face qualification that you must do. We have a series of dates planned in, provisionally planned in, to start in April, running right the way through to the end of May. So we are planning to release those in the next week or so, when we've just got a little bit more guidance on whether that's possible or not after the 29th of March. So keep an eye out. We're going to try and get them out as soon as we can. Those who were booked on first aid courses last winter will obviously invite, and if paid as an example, or we've given a free place, and we'll obviously honour that and ensure we can try and get as many people through that as we can. But as I said, we're just going to hold fire before we release the dates until we're absolutely sure we can go ahead and deliver them. But we have got some provisional dates planned in. Okay, have we had any questions?
Just about the old level 2, Richard, is those that are still outstanding? Yeah,
so those that are still outstanding, there's obviously there's a 2-year period that you would normally have from the point of the first module to complete the course. There is obviously leeway and extension on that, given the circumstances of the last 12 months. All I would advise is, if there's anyone that needs to do that, to get in touch. We've got around 60 candidates that are still outstanding that haven't completed yet. So we're going to be, as soon as we can get to be able to do the assessments and things, we're going to obviously get in touch with those We'll either come out to clubs and assess, or we will be having an assessment day as and when we're allowed to. So we're aware there's quite a few outstanding. Some of them probably past the 2-year mark before COVID, so we might not be able to do too much about it. But there are obviously some that have been affected by COVID. So we'll have those conversations. Anything else?
Richard, there's one from me that I need to clarify something, if that's okay.
Yeah.
When I made the remark about business grants and paying it back, what I was referring to is that at some point the country will have to pay it back. I was getting a bit worried about my pension, obviously, as people appreciate. So thank you for pointing that out, Andrew. It was perhaps an off-the-cuff remark. I hope people understood what I was saying. I think the main point is that last year, when the government released that funding, it was called Small Business Grant. It isn't called Small Business Grant now. There's lots of other different things that it's called. I guess what I'm trying to say to clubs is, if you had a small business grant of 10k from the government last year, you could be entitled to further support now. And I want to try and make sure that any club that did get that money, and I think we had something like between 60 and 70 clubs that got the 10k, which really helped the game last year. And I want to try and make sure that anybody that's entitled to further support can access that. So that was the point I made, and apologies if it's misled anyone, and I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Okay, I'll move us on. I'm just conscious of time, so we'll try and whiz through these next few. Charlie, back to you, I think, on. Hold on, Charlie, you're mute.
All right, thanks, Rich. Yeah, so disability champion clubs. This is what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of slides. ECB, it's an ECB program that launched a couple of weeks ago, designed to enable clubs to create a developing and a fun environment for disabled people. It's supporting people with equipment, online guidance, and funding, which will help each club support some activity to be part of the county's disability pathway. Clubs will get a kit bag full of things such as tennis balls, rubber balls, different sized bats, stumps, cones, etc., as well as guidance to help them support people with disabilities at their club, online training for coaches and administrators, and a Facebook page to share some ideas. So, and at the end of the year, you get a £500 grant if certain criteria have been met. Next slide, Rich. Yeah, so to find out more, you can have a look on our website. All the info has gone on there. There's a link provided there. Guidance notes, application forms. So anyone who's interested or wants more information, please just give us a shout. Again, it's a really good opportunity to grow and enhance the offer you have at your club. And specifically for the disability community. And again, this is an area of the game that's been really impacted heavily through the pandemic. So if it's something that your club might be interested in, then give me a shout and we can have a look at maybe making an application into this fund. That's it on that, really.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, I think. Oh no, sorry, I've missed a slide out. ACO. James, you want to just talk us through the umpiring courses?
Absolutely,
and then we'll bring
Richard.
Jane in.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, there is some new online umpires courses. The Basics of Umpiring course is a new free course that's available for parents. It might be players that don't get umpires on a Saturday, and your parents looking to umpire junior games to help with your volunteering. So it's a really good course that's available. So it's just free, and we are looking at running, or it's going to be coming out soon, a competition. So get your members involved. We're working with the ACO for prizes as well. So have a look out for that, because it's going to be a competition that's coming up. Sorry, my dog's just decided to come in. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And then obviously there's going to be progression onto that. So for your official umpiring courses, I know the ECO are really keen to get more umpires involved, but also looking at potentially setting up a mentoring program for those that are looking to get involved in the development league that Tom and Mick are going to talk about in a second. What I did forget to mention as well, the first course is for those that are aged 13 and up, but obviously if they're under 18, then a parent or a guardian will have to register them. So there is a clear pathway then from the umpires courses and onto the next stage, is the stage 2, looking at umpiring in the higher leagues as well. So yeah, so if you click on the links, they'll take you to the Derbyshire courses. I've edited the hyperlinks. And then scorers, Jane, are you there? Do you want to give us an update?
I'm here, James. Yes. So anybody who wants to learn to score using a scorebook, obviously we can't currently do face-to-face courses, so there is an online basics of scoring course, which I assume that's the link to. Any of you interested in learning to score electronically? I'm currently running some workshops on Sundays. So 11 o'clock in the morning is for PCS Pro, which is the laptop system, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon is the one for the app, which is smartphone or tablet. I'm hoping the links are going to be on your website as well, guys. Richard's nodding, thank you. The next one will start on the 7th of March. It's for 1 hour. We cover a little bit on the laws of cricket as well. Register your interest and come along and have a look. Any questions?
Is it worth Jane potentially putting your email address in the chat as well if anybody wants to get in touch with you?
I'll do that now.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. What I'll do is I will add the links into these slides as well. So when we send them out, the links to register for those courses will be on these slides.
Sorry, one more thing. I have been contacted by one club. They would like me to run a course just for their parents. I'm more than happy. If you think you've got enough people that you want me to run a course for you, just get in contact and I'll see what I can do for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jane. Okay. I think we're about at the end of the slides now. Yeah. So have we had any more questions in the chat? James, Charlie?
Not that I can.
No.
Not that
Okay,
I
so I guess if anyone's got any questions, happy for you to either unmute and ask us anything, or put it in the chat if that's easier. If there isn't anything, then I'll move us on and wrap up.
What do you do? It's just one from Nikki around the funds for runs for Charlie.
I've answered that, mate.
Have you messaged it?
I've messaged you, yeah.
Right, no worries.
Any others? No, everyone's ready for the tea. Okay, I'll move us on then, and we can hang around for 5 minutes afterwards if anyone wants to stay on and ask anything. Sorry, James. Right, okay. So just in terms of to summarise a few things, I think that just to pull out from the slides you've just in the presentation. Obviously, we're really keen to grow the women and girls game, as Charlie pointed out. It's a key priority for us over the coming years. So I'd urge anyone or any clubs out there that are interested or think they may have a few girls that they could develop further, get in contact with Charlie and we can look at what support packages we can put in place for you and help you with that. So, really important piece of work, and we'd gladly help out and support you through that. So please get in touch with Charlie if you want to discuss that further. Facility development, Mick touched on it earlier, that there will be funding opportunities for facility development in the coming years, and it's really important that we get a steer on that early on so we can help you through that. We did send out about a week or so ago, I think, maybe a couple of weeks ago, a form for you to fill in, Microsoft Forms, which just helps you to talk through some of the projects you might have in mind, whether it be, you know, a non-turf pitch, new pavilion build, anything that kind of scale, from as small as that right the way through to a new build. Let us know so we can get that on the plan, and we can work with you on it over the, you know, the next few years. The link's there, so if you click on it, it should take you through to the form, and you can fill that in if you haven't already. You know, conscious we send out a lot of information, and we try not to just overload you all the time with information, but, you know, I think it's better for you to have it than not. So, but the key thing is that we have the right contact details. So we have sent out our annual club contacts form. If you could take a moment, if you haven't already as a club, to fill that in. It's just asking for the key roles within the club. Going forward, you know, the Safe Hands management system might help us with that in terms of the collecting of details. They'll all be on there. We hopefully won't have to go out to you every year and ask you to fill in a form that you've probably filled in 3 times already. So I do appreciate it takes time for that. But it, you know, it's key to us getting the right information to you and being able to support you. And on support, James, Tom, Charlie, I think, are working their way around the catchment of clubs, and offering one-to-one meetings. So if you haven't had one with them already, or you want another one, then please get in touch with them. I'd hope by now everyone knows which of them is your club support officer. But if you don't, then just get in touch and we can point you in the right direction. But get in touch with them. They've got an online booking system now for their meetings, so it's much easier to pick a time and date that suits you, and get booked in and see what support we can provide. In terms of, I'm absolutely amazed that no one's asked it yet throughout the call around the plans for return to cricket. We, at this stage, we've not had any guidance yet from the ECB. Obviously, it's still fairly fresh since Monday. We had a call yesterday, and we're expecting some guidance through at some point next week. So, you know, we've got a little bit of time, I guess, ahead of the league season starting of junior and senior. But what we will look to do is work with the leagues and pull together webinars towards, you know, at the appropriate time towards the season when we have enough information to support you through that. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be restrictions in place at the start of the season. So, you know, we will work with you on that and have the discussion as to what needs to be put in place, like we did last year. So just bear with us on that. As soon as we get the information, we'll share it with you. Tom, do you want? I forgot to put it in the slides actually. What Charlie mentioned, I think, or James did, about a development league. Do you want to just mention something about that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I can quickly. That's fine. So myself and Mick have been working on a bit of a development league for Sundays at the moment, based on a lot of the feedback we've had from clubs over the last few years around trying to keep some of your older juniors engaged and kind of that transition to senior cricket, and also on the feedback we got from the survey we sent out. So we've got a good selection of clubs who are going to look at getting involved. It's aimed at kind of junior players, having, you know, 621s in your side. The group of clubs we've got seem really keen to kind of work together just to get some more cricket played on Sundays. We're thinking about 8 to 10 games, somewhere between 25 to 40 overs, that kind of stuff. So if you've got any clubs out there who are interested in having a bit of a chat about it, get in touch and we can go through that and give you a bit of support. I'll send the slides over to you, that's fine. Do you want me to mention the next one as well, Woody, while I'm speaking? Yeah, so something we have got before the season, which is quite exciting, is on the 19th of March. We're going to have a kind of players press conference Q&A session with some of the first team players at Derbyshire. That's something we've set up. So it's going to be aimed at mainly juniors, and clubs can come on there, listen to the players, having a chat about how pre-season's going and, you know, ambitions for the season, and then also ask any questions and things like that. So the 19th of March, the link will be coming out next week about that. So something to share with your juniors or anyone in the club who's interested in being involved in that.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I think that's a really good opportunity for your junior players. Please share it with them. I think, they've probably been at times in a lot of clubs, the forgotten members a little bit over the winter period, because you'd normally be bringing them back in for junior training now and indoor nets. So I think as we approach the season, it's really key that we start to, if we aren't already, and I know a lot of clubs will be, engaging those players. So we know that they're going to come back at the beginning of April or mid-April. Final one was just around workforce. So I mentioned about the Foundation 1 courses and looking to try and run as many of them as we can throughout the summer. So we can run them outside, and we will be looking to run them basically as soon as we can throughout the year. We sent out a form a while ago, which I think about 100 people filled in. So we've got an idea of who's wanting to do courses, whether it be umpiring, scoring, coaching courses and so on. But again, please share it with your members. If you're aware of anyone that's wanting to do a coaching course, get them to fill that form in, and then we'll make sure they're contacted as soon as we have dates available for courses. It does also help us because it identifies whether they want nights or weekends, whether they want it, how far they're prepared to travel and so on. So it will help us in terms of placing the courses around the county. So yeah, if you could share that would be great. Other than that, I think we're about there, unless anyone's got any final questions. No, okay. So I guess that just leaves to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Hope you found it informative. We've not sent you to sleep and kept you engaged throughout. We will be sharing the recording, and as I said, we'll send an FAQs document out after the webinar next week, once we've compiled all the questions. But yeah, thanks again. We'll hope to see you again in another month's time or so when we bring you back for a return to cricket webinar. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your tea. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Richard.